think somebody is burning down Las Vegas. I think somebody is trying to snatch my eyes. And I think somebody is burning down this place up there. But if you believe in Vegas, then you believe in God. I think somebody is burning down my country. I think somebody is burning out my heart. And I think somebody has smoked me out and gassed my mouth. But if you believe in money, then you believe in God. I think somebody is burning down this place I built. But if you believe in Vegas, then you believe in God. Said if you believe in Vegas, then you believe in God.
Hi, everybody. Morning. We are really excited to be here. Our company is called The Team. My name is Libby King. I'm a writer and performer. This is Jessica Almacy. She's a writer-performer. Matt Hubbs is our sound designer, and this is Rachel Chavkin, our artistic director.
So we're going to talk to you today about our new work, Primer for a Failed Superpower. So Primer is actually a response to a question that we were asked at a talk back in 2009, and this happened in London. And a woman raised her hand and asked how Americans are preparing for the fact that you're no longer going to be a superpower. And we sort of stopped, and then I think I muttered, I don't think I can answer for all Americans, but I can say that I personally don't think I have the chip in my brain that would allow me to process the paradigm where America is not the world's dominant superpower. And I began to think about why this was. And so I grew up in the 80s. And I realized that my first geopolitical memory, the moment where I was really first aware of America and its role in the world, was the fall of the Berlin Wall. And then furthermore, I realized that for my students, I teach undergraduates at college, that they were the same age when September 11th happened. So these two iconic moments in time where these very symbolic structures are falling, but they embody totally different paradigms of world power. So then separately, I'm just thinking about the 80s, and I'm from Washington, D.C., which was the center of the hardcore punk scene. And then that got me thinking about rage and the expression of teenage outrage in musical form, so protest songs, which got us as a company into talking about counterculture and arguing about whether our students are angry enough. And what does teenage anger have to do with the spiritual health of a country?
And that makes us think about our children.
And the fact that we don't feel like we have a chip for it, but will our children be born into a world where America is no longer a superpower?
And how do we prepare them for that?
So our first step was to form a band. And I should say, none of us actually play instruments. But last summer, we learned to play one Fugazi song. And if you don't know Fugazi, they're a band out of the DC scene. And since that time, the idea has grown. So what we want to do is form a cover band that brings together our 7 performers with a group of teenagers, ages 13 to 18, and a group of 60 to 70-year-olds who are drawn from political radicals and grassroots activists.
And we've already begun working with teenagers. We were in residency at NYU for a semester, and we spent time in London at the National Theatre Studio Learning Center working with teens.
And we want to build the work through collaborations with several different groups of teenagers and older activists. And ultimately, we imagine rebuilding this ensemble wherever the work tours.
The idea is that this multi-generational orchestra will cover protest songs from Woody Guthrie to Public Enemy to Minor Threat. And then this concert will form the spine of the performance piece. And the concert will be intercut with thrashing moments of dance, portraits of current and former superpower American cities like Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Washington, D.C., scenes inspired by the end of the Cold War, interviews with experts from former empires giving advice to America on how to die well, and interviews with our children who haven't yet been born.
Also, we want there to be a spaghetti dinner. We want the whole thing to feel like a community event.
So physically, we can't really see this happening in a proscenium theater.
So we're looking at venues like ones that Fugazi used to play, school gymnasiums or a church basement.
One of the venues that we've talked about in New York is the basement at Judson Church, which would also be particularly relevant with its radical history. Or it could happen in a large open space within a pre-existing theater. We just want the freedom to set the space up the way we want it, where people can both stand and sit like you would at a concert. And we also want to be able to charge $5 for a significant block of tickets.
And we need a Xerox machine.
Right, so I was fascinated with the idea of actually making something, a physical object, over the course of the show and giving it to the audience at the end of the night. So I suggested we produce a zine, an independent magazine, throughout the show.
And we did that with the NYU students, and they loved it.
So we think Primer will be ready for premiere in 2015, and here are the things we need right now. We need to build this piece in stages because it's big. We need partners that want to engage in a real dialogue with their community about American history and the American future. We need a series of residencies both in New York and in cities that were former centers of American industry. We need help to find community members interested in being a part of the multi-generational ensemble and digging with us into the themes of this piece.
We want to know if and how you can teach someone about the America you or your parents or your grandparents grew up with.
And vice versa, how younger people teach older generations how to prepare for the future world.
We're working with the image of the individual as a superpower on a micro level and a nation as a superpower on a macro level.
We want to know how different versions of American national identity are preserved and lost. Thank you for your time. We look forward to talking with you further.
Thank you.